Look, let me just speak from here. I know we want to get to question and answer. One, I appreciate the leadership of Chairman Levin on the Trade Subcommittee, and as a co-founder of the APEC caucus, which is, I think, a growing and even more dynamic caucus in the House with excellent leadership from both sides of the aisle. I know that I attended the APEC Summit in Singapore and heard Chairman a number of trade ministers and others who appreciated your presence at the summit. Being able to sit down and just talk to you about some of these issues just helps to sort of go beyond the media reports and directly to those discussions. So thank you for your presence and leadership at the summit. We did just miss each other, passing ships. And I think the summit was critical for a number of reasons, both to sort of reinforce what's happening at the G20 as far as Doha and standing against protectionism, but also launching new initiatives, to lower the cost of doing business in key areas by 25%. Again, trade facilitation in that region, I think, has real benefits for the United States. So the APEC summit, I think, is an important one for us for a number of reasons. A couple impressions from that summit. The first one is that in that region, when it comes to trade, America is falling behind, clearly. This area is dynamic. They're moving forward. They would welcome, I think, U.S. engagement in the region as a counterweight to China, but they're not waiting around for us to get our act together or to engage. This is a region that, as my friend Scott Miller would say, if you're going to lay an economic bet down anywhere in the world, you would lay it down in that region, because the potential for it. That scared me. We're under attack. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, you can probably hear my heart. But here's a region that has already negotiated 168 free trade agreements. They have some 88 pending or under negotiation. We have 2 in that area. China is moving forward with bilateral agreements. We're looking at the ASEAN region, ASEAN +3, ASEAN +6, all in. Japan is proposing an all-East Asia community that would exclude the United States. Again, another, I think, in some ways troubling aspect. But the fact of the matter is, this is an area we need to be deeply, deeply engaged in now, not tomorrow, not months from now, but today. Clearly, I think APEC is a key forum, a way for us to move into engagement in that region in a number of areas. But what struck me too, besides the fact that we're falling behind, this region is moving forward, is that when it comes to trade agreements, they're looking ahead. America seems to be looking back. We're looking at that path to renegotiating agreements when they're looking to shape not just the region but the world as well to their advantage. And each one of those agreements leaves the United States out, makes it tougher for our companies to compete. And sometimes, unfortunately, I think when America doesn't act aggressively to lower trade barriers, we force our companies behind those barriers, placing U.S. jobs and presence in those countries which at times is the only option. But there's also opportunities to export from the United States that provide us, I think, large economic opportunities. And so the importance, I think, the urgency to engage, to lower those trade barriers, to be a counterweight, to be part of that growing region is just critical. Enforcement, another observation, enforcement is not enough. The truth is we've been enforcing our rules for many years. It alone is not a jobs agenda. Lowering those trade barriers, giving us a chance to compete for those customers, that's where I think our economic growth can come from. The 3 pending free trade agreements themselves equate to about $13 billion of new sales for U.S. farm and manufacturing service sectors. That growth in exports equates to about 250,000 jobs at a time, frankly, when we need every job that we can get. I was encouraged by the President's discussions and statements regarding TPP. I think this is a critical area for us to move forward on. I and a number of others, bipartisan members of the House, and the Senate have encouraged the administration to move forward with these talks. Like Chairman Levin was encouraged to see the consultations begin. I think that's an opportunity not to just to listen to members of Congress about concerns, but also to highlight the potentials of these agreements and work through outstanding issues as they appear. And I think too, bringing New Zealand, a longtime partner and ally, into this agreement, I think is very important in addressing Vietnam. Not a market economy, clearly, but that's the point. These agreements are an opportunity to raise those standards in a number of areas, from labor to human rights to environmental issues. So we ought to not hesitate at all to engage Vietnam and knowing there are issues, but these are issues to be resolved and addressed. Let's see how far it takes us. I think the statements on South Korea are important. I think the South Koreans were encouraged by the President's commitment to President Lee about resolving these issues and moving forward. That's a huge trade agreement. Those are the types we ought to be creating. It provides great opportunities for us, and I know we can. I'm absolutely confident that we can resolve the outstanding beef and autos issues. And I look at, for example, while the U.S. has had some challenges, big challenges, selling into that region, that's the point as well. This agreement lowers those barriers for both autos and light trucks, lowers the non-tariff barriers and the taxes for them, creates that auto working group that allows us to react quickly to any concerns that may arise. And I compare where we're at versus the EU and Japan is selling 55,000 cars into South Korea. Toyota, in its very first week of that market, sold 3,000 cars into that market. It's possible to import successfully into South Korea, and I think this trade agreement is an opportunity for us to move that forward. I think the discussions with South Korea, which they have indicated they are willing to sit down and work through these issues with Chairman Levin and others in this Congress and administration, I see that as a very, very positive sign. Final point, I guess, I would make, today I'm sort of wearing my trade hat, my APEC caucus hat, but I'll stick on my Joint Economic Committee hat for a moment. Truth is that when it comes to jobs and unemployment, America actually is the worst performing in the jobs area as far as economic recovery of any major developed countries. Canada, Australia, Asia, Europe are moving and recovering faster than we are. Our consumer demand is not going to ramp up as it has in past recoveries. It's important for us to reach out around the world to reach these new customers with an export strategy that is not just talking about selling American, but actually taking the action as a result in selling America, which is just key. And I really think a strong export strategy can be an important part, not the only, but an important part of America's economic recovery. So with that, Tim, thank you very much for having me. Chairman, thank you.